Everybody, and welcome. It's time for Minute Skim It right here. There's lots of books out this week. So many. Lots of things to talk about. Even some cool ash cans that arrived. Finally get the second Firestorm because that one was so good. Took everyone by surprise. And talk a little bit about the things that surprised everyone that were hits last week, like Ben 10. So let your friends know. We're going to do spoiler-free reviews and head on back here and we'll talk about them. Welcome back to Minute to Skim It. Awesome review show. Hope it's very helpful to you guys. There, like I said, are a ton of books releasing this week, including some everyone's been waiting for Absolute Batman 20 because of the Robins, and it is not disappoint. But let's get into it. We'll talk about all the cool stuff that is in this week's releases. I read so many books this week. Airwalker. Now, this is a very interesting ash can that was sent to us by Ignition Press. So what it looks like here is that it's attributed also to Stan Lee. So this must be something that he had written. And I don't know if it ever released as a story because I know that Stan Lee did a lot of Stan Lee Presents stuff back in the day. But in any case, Jeremy Hahn, love, has gotten this story rocking and rolling, which is, you know, if you're going to launch a story where there is a new superhero universe or superhero that you want to present, I love the way this starts because I myself feel like it's very, very important to love a character or get to know a character or have a lot of character development before you start throwing this is the damage that this character can do, etc. So this story actually starts lovely with just kind of a this is kind of how we found the thing. And in this case, it looks like maybe a scientific expedition for a very specific object. So think deep, cold cavern where they bring a bunch of equipment so that they can, it looks like, open a portal. I'm sure they're going to tell us exactly in the real full issue that looks like it captures something, and it looks a little bit like what this guy has on the front cover in his hands. So it introduces like the gaining of this thing that we don't know what it is, and then it jumps to development for getting to know this young person here who he feels like he's kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place. So his deal is that it looks like he's basically being kind of strong-armed into doing kind of underground fighting. And as pay, it looks like he gets to his family's, I think it's a bookstore, gets to stay safe. You know, just like one of those things like this person would not be doing this action unless X. And usually the thing that's held over them is family, right? So this one looks really cool. I am normally a person that would be like me, but the cool synopsis on the back of it says the thing that they find is a God particle. So unknown how many powers that involves, but the back seems to indicate that amongst them is walking on air. Hence the name Airwalker. So now you know the things. All right, Fury of Firestorm. Really, the first issue was one of those books that when I read it for review, the whole next day during the release, I pretty much said to anyone that came up to the register, I'm like, please just go get Firestorm. You will thank me for going to get the Firestorm. You will love Firestorm, even if you don't know anything about the character. And it's true. This one kind of like gives you another cool way to understand the character as it goes back and kind of like jumps around in time, like goes back to even when he's a kid, when he's a young man, and kind of shows you the development for how this guy became Firestorm, how the accident happened that combined him and the professor. And so it makes more sense now when you find out in the first issue that there's kind of a major separation that's happening to them now. So they're really super powerful. You've got all of this amazing power that they've got because of the accident. Plus you've got the super intelligence of the professor that was kind of like combined with him. He was kind of like his teaching tech, which you find out in this book that he wasn't even really smart enough to be one. He just kind of sweet talked him into it because he was trying to impress a girl. not because he wanted to do actual physics, but because he wanted to impress a girl. And that's good enough reason for the professor. And he turns out to be an adequate student. So this is great. And then it goes straight back into the story that started in issue 1, which was very much this whole, like, why is there now this major separation in who's in control of the actual, like, the major power that are going on. And then, of course, the whole, oh, was she impressed? It actually doesn't go back and say, Corey. It's frustrating to me that you don't see for sure whether that was actually something that worked. Was my store responsible for shipping the EXP website pre-orders of Ben 10? Yeah, I did it. That was me. I'm fulfilling the orders for Ben 10, if you just wanted to know. If you're getting stuff from me and you ordered Ben 10 through the experience, that's why. Because we have the ability to do it, and, you know, we like to send really nice copies, so that's how we did it. So anyway, do think about adding Fury of Firestorm to your pull boxes. This is the thing that we see often, that number 1 ends up being kind of a hit, and then people kind of, like, in that 3 weeks or whatever, kind of forget that they're supposed to add it to their pull box. And then number 2 comes out, and the orders were kind of based on the subscription numbers. And if you didn't tell your local comic shop, they might not have as many as you think you would like on the order. So you're welcome, unknown. So yeah, still awesome for a character that I had never heard of before. I really am digging this book. All right, Barbara Gordon, Breakout. This comes straight out of the last issue of Batman. Remember, the entire issue, I think it was last week it came out, was essentially Vandal Savage and Mayor Ivy. And I can't remember who the third person is as part of the main Gotham baddies, hunting down everyone connected to Batman to try to, like, you know, when you try to go after somebody, you take away all their support system, because if they have their support system, they're more likely to be able to get out. And out of that, you know, like the cover literally said, one will fall. And you think maybe someone's going to die, but no, that's not what's happening. Barbara Gordon gets captured, and it gets sent away to Supermax. So this book is all about, what do you do if you're stuck in Supermax with a bunch of corrupt cops that have been put in prison there, and a bunch of bad girls. And basically, it's very clear from the very beginning that everybody that's going there is designed to be taken out. And they don't really know who she is when she shows up, because they definitely don't know anything about Batwoman, but they take a while to figure out that she's Barbara. And if you are the daughter of the ex-commissioner, then maybe all the criminals in the Supermax don't like you. So this one is a cool little, like, straight out of the Batman storyline, which the Batman universe right now, just a straight up Batman that's being told by Fraction. Oh, so good. Every single time I read an issue, I'm like, man. Although I'm kind of missing the Minotaur. Sometimes Kyle does miss Jen's show, maybe the Thursday one. Kyle sometimes he shows up in chit chats on Saturdays a lot. He does every other Saturday with me because we're pals, and he's very sweet and shows up and knows that it's more fun if there's more people talking. All right, what's next? Action Comics. This one is really cool. You know, remember that they've kind of made a real effort in Action Comics to kind of like go back and kind of de-age John. So Clark. So they are actually telling a story in which the characters you see back there, Booster Gold and Martian Manhunter and Ms. Marvel, are all trying to figure out what happened to the old ship. That, I know it is. I'm like going, it's either John or Clark. I should know by now. It could also be, Superboy Prime for all I know at this point. But, so they all, at the last issue, realized that the ship that he came with from Krypton had been stolen by a character. It's a bad guy that I'm not recognize him, but he obviously is wanting to use the bits of the ship to make something new weapon-wise, because they know that the bits and parts of that ship are probably super, more complex than stuff you could get on Earth. So the cool thing about this book isn't really that part of the story at all. That kind of like is an introduction and it happens a little bit. But the cool part about this is really the story about how the Kents end up adopting him, because it tells a heartbreaking tale where I think it's a little bit from Pa Kent's point of view, where he's like, there's nothing worse than being married to the most wonderful woman on the world who only thing she wants is to have kids, and to watch her have her, that desire to be crushed, and because they've tried and tried and tried to have kids and they just can't. So that is a very heartwarming and heart-wrenching part of the book, where you don't think about that part a lot. It's like usually when we see them presented in the comic books, they're old, and so it kind of feels like they're kind of like, well, I guess we'll raise this young whippersnapper. But in this one, they're much younger, so it feels like it's the right time for them to be finding a baby. Of course, when we see them in the movies, it's already, he's already an adult, so it makes sense that they're older. But this is when he's a baby and they're young. So super cool. So it's a little bit about them trying to prevent this, whatever creature it is, bad guy, to continue to make whatever weapon it's trying to make. And also telling this cool backstory, which is awesome. All right, Absolute Martian Manhunter. Man, I'm going to give you a trigger warning. This series has gotten more and more kind of like very into your psyche, because you have in the last few issues very clearly that John definitely doesn't know what reality is anymore, because it was pretty fun in the first part of the series where it just was like the Martian was showing him what the thoughts were of everybody around him, and he kind of used that as a cool way to like be a police officer, to figure things out that are going on in the city. And then you have the White Martian show up, and you realize the White Martian's up to no good, but you don't really know what's going on. I mean, the last few issues you've had things show up like the Blue Martian, who is like really like, he like speaks into their heads just this despair, so much despair and lies. So this whole issue is really that Martian kind of like getting horribly into John's head and telling him all these really horrible things and making him believe and doubt that the Green Martian, it's basically saying that the Green Martian has been like deceiving him all this time and making him do stuff he didn't want to do. And then you see also John's family, right? His child and and wife who have been completely overcome with all the rest of the forms of the Martians, including the white Martian who's taken over his son, who kind of like, that feels like a very powerful position. So it revealed he ate the brown acid. I don't know how they're going to wrap all this up, but there's like a page, and like most of the issues have got something that like, do this thing in the book, like hold it up to the light so you can see through the page and see what's actually happening. There's an actual page in here that essentially says, rip this part off of the book. It's the blue Martian talking to me saying, if you aren't a horrible person and like to see, like people die or something, you should, cut this bottom part out and throw it away so you don't read this part. And then of course you're going to turn the page and see what that part says. So you're just like, man, you're getting into my head too. No. But just know there's like some threats of self-harm in this book. Get in a positive headspace before or after the book, please. I don't want you to get all in your headspace. This is just a comic book. Don't let the blue alien win. Be careful with yourself if you're feeling sad today. Just know we love you. Okay. Absolute Batman. Oh my goodness. This is also in kind of a similar place as the main Batman series, where everyone is at odds with him. It feels like all the bad guys are kind of getting their way. Including he goes to visit one of them in prison and kind of like breaks into the prison to have a discussion with them. And while he's having a discussion with, and this is the Scarecrow character, he is got a roommate who you also will recognize, who, while he's talking to Batman Bruce, he's also talking to this other one. Think in kind of a way like, do you remember Silence of the Lambs when Hannibal Lecter kind of talks somebody on his, prison block into something? It's like that. It's so scary, y'all. Ugh. And then you don't see the Robins team until the end of the book. And they're kind of dope. I'm not going to lie. I am down for any kind of mech whatever. You'll see that. There's another book this week that's very mech. And I'm like, I feel kind of like Batman's against the ropes here. I know he's smart and he's got lots of plans and, set up. But this is another one where characters are getting into his head. And it's really going to affect how he can move forward in this series. But man, are you guys really, really glad that they've decided that they're going to let the Absolute Universe kind of like continue on? Maybe not indefinitely. We know that we only have one more issue of Martian Manhunter, but we know also that team was offered something in this universe or something in the DC universe that made them be like, okay, because they got offered, you can keep on going with this. We're okay with, we've got a story to tell, keep on going. But also we've got this other thing, which I don't think we know what that is yet. So I know Absolute Green Arrow. There's actually in the back of all of the DC books this week, there's an actual like two or 3 page Green Arrow primer. So if you wanted to tease yourself a little bit about Green Arrow or you didn't know where the storyline was going to go, I will just tell you so that you're not alarmed and you did not maybe get to have one of these copies of books. That Absolute Evil book that came out, actually, you get to see very early on in that book, they kill Green Arrow. He's not alive. So what's this book about? So I will tell you, it's going to be the bomb. And do add it to your pull boxes. Please add it to your pull boxes. And while you're thinking about it, if you like Catwoman at all, we've started to see some of the variant covers for that. Put Absolute Catwoman on your pull box, or just heck, put everything Absolute, and then you won't miss like the weird annuals that come out or Absolute Evil stuff or any of that stuff they sneak out for you. Just put down everything Absolute and you'll never be sad. Is it a ghost? Is another character taking up the mantle? Let's find out. The way I understand it was teased to me is that it's really trying to figure out who killed him, which is really cool. All right, Uncanny X-Men. This is a storyline that Gail Simone has been writing. Who's been sleeping in my bed? The last couple issues have kind of given us this crazy look at, they've brought the New Mutants in, but there's been kind of something that doesn't make a whole bunch of sense about them, and that is definitely for a reason, and they tell you the why in this book, and it might make your head explode, and that's okay. There's a reason that they are very weird. But also, is this the one where it happens? To make sure I'm not going to tell you things that happen that don't happen. There were some good X kind of related books this week. So, oh, this one's crazy. So there were characters that have been introduced into this universe before. And there's a very extremely dangerous one that has been around for a while. And then it has seemed to be gone. They haven't been in the storyline for a while. Think about the most dangerous character in this universe, or at least has had a lot of impact recently. They're back. They're back. What do you use a corpse for if the corpse isn't using his body anymore? We'll jump in there. And then you also, I will tell you that another cool thing you get to see is like the Outsiders group. The cool thing is that, or is it Outsiders or Outliers? You get to see Calico kind of more ramp up the power, right? You're used to seeing the flames on kind of version of her and her horse. But man, oh man, it's another reminder that those characters that have been introduced by Gale are so dangerous. Very extremely dangerous. So. Loving it. Ultimate Endgame. You know what? I'm going to not lie about this. I thought this part of the series was wrapping up this week. I didn't realize we had another whole week of wrap up for the Ultimate Universe. And it's getting dark, y'all. There's some stuff that's happening that I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? They killed Peter last time. He's dead. You see his body in this. Like, oh, right, that's everyone's favorite character. So how are you going to get out of this without making everyone super mad? So this one is, remember, for the entirety of the Ultimate Universe timeline, the Thinker there, you can see him on the top, has been relegated to being stuck in the city. But in the last issue, found out that it's worse than that. The Maker is the city. You're going to have to read it to find out. It makes no sense when you say it out loud, but when you look at it, you'll be like, oh. And he has been using Doom. Like, if Doom didn't show up, Ultimate Doom, obviously, the things that happened in this issue couldn't have happened. He tells them that. He was like, thanks for showing up. Without you, this stuff couldn't have happened. So it's looking real grim, y'all. There's another major character that dies in this book. Probably are not ready for what's happening in this book, but it's really cool. It does have Black Panther in it. It's got a ton of that Doom back and forth and a bunch of other characters. Dennis is writing his heart out, I'm telling you right now. I love how everyone messaged me. Okay. Spectacular Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think this is Marvel being super smart and giving us a primer for what the storyline that the new Spider-Man Brand New Day might be based on. I wouldn't believe that they're actually like spelling out what's going to happen in the movie, because this is too early and it will, like, why would you want to have stuff spoiled for you? But Brand New Day is actually a storyline that happened a while ago, and this feels like they're going back and kind of telling parts of that story, but giving us a bunch of extra stuff, which is very, very cool. As part of this, there is definitely a Kingpin interaction that is going on, but also Negative Man, which I don't know if Negative Man's slated to be in the film or not. I know he's been kind of running around as a pretty good bad guy in some of the books, but Also, the Punisher is in this book, which we know we've seen in the trailers for the movie. So I truly cannot tell you if what they're showing us is related to stuff that might come out in the movie, but it definitely gives us some characters that we haven't seen, or I haven't seen in the books. What is the name of this guy? Oh, the eel. He has a whole fight with the eel, whose superpower is that he's super slippery. And so we can't hit him because it just slides off. So how do you fight a guy who is a big eel? Do you slap him with a tuna? Find out. Find out. No, actually, TJ, I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for 30 years. And Marvel has been, in the past, not exactly great at having the source material for a movie in print when the movie comes out, or have thought about what's coming out to this, to comic book shops when the movies come out that people might actually want to go pick up. But they're doing so much better. It's incredibly much better at this point. Like, that they have something with the name Brand New Day on it that's coming out to comic book stores before the actual movie comes out is pretty amazing to me. And as long as they have, that book in print that we can still get, and it has anything to do at all with the movie, it will be so nice, y'all. It's going to be amazing. And there's a whole new character that shows up in the book at the very end that is it's an effect from one of the other characters in the book, that kind of like two characters in the book, when they collide, create a whole new character. So when you see what it is, you'll be like, what the heck? He looks really cool. He looks really, really cool. Don't spoil it for yourself. Definitely read it, because the reading of it is why it's so cool. Still bummed DC didn't release a comic for Pattinson's The Batman. Love the movie. Yeah. It's cool because I feel like it kind of blazed its own trail. I don't think it was really based on anything except for, hey, let's make sure that we get Batman back to actually detecting, or look what it looks like to see a detecting Batman. So I'm very happy. All right. This is way cool. I did not know what this book really was going to give us, because they always say #1 for Marvel, even though if it's going to be just kind of a single shot. But if you read the Amazing Spider-Man Death Spiral storyline, this is so going to be a payoff for you, because what this book does is it actually, it definitely picks up where we left off for what happened at the end of that book. Basically, this opens up with Torment. He's falling to his death because Mary Jane Venom threw him off the side of a building. But in between, you see at the start of his fall, he starts thinking it as a narrative about why he does what he does. So you actually get to see kind of his origin story. There's like 2 or 3 story kind of like, this happened, but then here's the reason why. And it gets real into his psyche for why in the world would you do this over? It looks like he's doing it over and over and over again. And, the whole premise of the storyline is that the spiral is something that only he can kind of see. And the spiral is where the outsides of the spiral are just like family members that are like you may have not seen in years, and then the spiral, as it gets closer, like, oh, this is my sister, my brother, and my wife, and then the person who's at the very center of the spiral, who over and over again he's ended up killing. It actually gives you a death count for how many people he's killed, which is like 164 or something in this book. Not in this book, but in his, before we've seen him lifetime. So his mental whatever is so scary. Yeah. This is an interesting kind of like black, white, and red cover. Black, white, and red. So this will give you lots of background if you ever wanted to learn what Torment's deal is. All right, Geiger. Oh, thank you so much, Jeff Johns, for making so much cool stuff. I'm going to get you caught up a little bit for Geiger. 2 issues ago, I believe, you had something very special show up. It was the Time Tank. And the Northerner is also a time traveler, and he has a watch that he wears where he can jump through time. But he's being ruled by somebody. He's been sent places by somebody. But I don't think we still know 100% who that person or what time they're from is. So this issue is very specifically another one of those heart-wrenching books that I'm talking about. It starts out with Tariq. Actually, we don't know the time or space, but his family is there. His wife and his son are there. It looks like they're just like enjoying some time outside, and he shows up looking like his normal self, except for his skin's a little bit different color, right? Looks kind of orangey. And they notice the difference too. But he only gets to talk to them for a short amount of time. He gets sucked back away. And a lot of this issue is kind of about the Northerner talking about the fact that he is part of a different timeline in which the North, like the North didn't win. And all of these things are like have changed everything that's part of the timeline. And so I don't think of him as kind of a time policeman because he hasn't really fixed anything, but he is going through and he's already had an interaction with the Redcoat, Simon Pure, and he's mentioned again in here. So we're getting real close to having all of the unnamed kind of like storyline explained for how it all connects, which is so cool. I'm very excited for all of this. Oh, and also, what's his name? Oh no, Joe. He's got a first name. The Robot Man.
Junkyard Joe.
Junkyard Joe. I was like, what in the world? Why can't I come up with it? Junkyard Joe. You get to see his group, whatever. They show up. So that's cool. This next cover, oh my gosh. All right, not a one-hit wonder. Dork continues to be pretty amazingly crazy. And this one, it deals with a Throg, which is that three-headed bizarre dog you see on the front cover. It looks like a bunch of chihuahuas that are rabid for dinner. Yeah, 3 was terrific. So it's kind of interesting to me that like he, his deal is that he's from neither side. He's not from dwarf sides or the orc side. He's not from the dark side or the light side. He's kind of a middle ground guy, but no one likes him. They all are trying to take him down, which is bizarre. And we've now figured out he's trying to go and find some group of witches because he feels like they have the answer for that. Like, can you fix my chicken who's getting the ghost head of the chicken is getting dumber by the minute. He's just like spitting out random facts and his body is decaying. And the cool shield with the eyeball on it believes that it once was something, human, orc, something, whatever, and really wants to know what he was before. So now we've got like, not only do we have him just trying to survive, but he's also kind of on a cool quest that involves both of these things. So I like now it looks like we're probably going to have him just like encounter different creatures from their cool universe. Cerebus Wren, nope. He's really called Throg. And these guys you see on the front cover that look like they're trying to kill him, they're actually siblings. And he gets himself kind of like in trouble between the two of them. So really cool, super fun, not to be serious. All right, we're in a good pace. Okay. Conan and Dragonero. To not put too fine a point on the storyline, it looks like Conan falls through to a different time space in which there are dragons, and the dragons are attacking the city. So he is like just great Conan story, but then this character, the Dragonero, shows up at the very end, and it looks like they're going to be called on to work together. There's lots of story that's in there. I'm not doing it justice for like all of the cool stuff that happens in between, but that's the general gist of the Conan and Dragon Arrow. I've never heard of Dragon Arrow, but they've been kind of adding characters that are part of other universes to the Conan lore, so maybe he already exists in this universe. I just haven't heard of him before. Barlord is here! Hey, my friend! Shout out! All right, Destination Kill. I'm going to tell you, I am a sucker for just bizarre looking artwork. Real, like this is very square, very artsy. It feels like the whole thing just feels like it might be, subway graffiti. But it's such a fun story. Oh, okay. So I'm going to make sure I get the storyline right here. Not messing up with the other rest of my stuff. Hit the pick of the week yet? Oh, I don't know. That's going to be so hard. I like so many of them. We're getting to like some of the indies that I really, really loved. So don't miss these because some of them might have been ordered in less supply. Okay. So this is part of a future, City of the Future in New York, in which everything is not doing well. So they start privatizing things, including running of the cities. And so this new company called Overcon, Building a Better World. Can you guys remember who else's Building a Better World is? There's some other references in this book to it, by the way. But so they essentially take over the rebuilding of the city and form for themselves enemies out of the previous construction workers. The construction workers become kind of like the rebellion and show up at every possibility and try to make trouble. So this character on the front is part of the police force that kind of is trying to protect regular people, etc., and prevent that from happening. And I'm telling you, have you guys ever looked at who wins the big prizes the big awards for lettering? You guys ever see what they're looking for when they look at letterers? Well, the lettering for this is it's got to win some awards. Who does the lettering here? Lettering and logo design by Joel Palmer. So written, drawn, it's all Joe Palmer, basically. The only other person that works on this is the color assist person, which is Velocity, I think. Olaseni. Cool name. So anyway, there is, just pay attention to all the stuff that's going on in the background, the lettering for things, the way that they use, if there's a bang or a boom or a whatever, it becomes, I'm not allowed to, Corey. If I show it to you, I will get in the trouble. I can know. But definitely, even if you don't buy it tomorrow, pick it up and open it up and look at the stuff in here. It's just crazy cool. It's so good. The bad guys show up. I'll describe one to you. It has at the top of the page, it has the overview of a city. And in the city, it says London in big words, big letters, and then 2125 over here. So it looks like it's the top of the buildings. So the words are the top of the buildings. And then the middle one says bang, but the bang is so big, it's behind him, that the actual bang of the gun is right between the A and the N. And then he says, it's an up close shot of him, and it says oi. So it's just like if you were doing graffiti. Oi, listen up, you Muppets. It's, the letters get kind of stuck into things. It's a master class in lettering things and just making cool sounds, those little doom, bow, chick, you can hear all of this stuff. Anyway, it's Destination Kill is something you should definitely consider. This is an Oni Press book. Joe Palmer, You got some mad skills, man. Yeah. Oh, not sure if it has the same character, but Dark Horse published a Dragon Arrow graphic novel. I bet you it is, because Dragon Arrow just seems like it's a very specific name. All right. There's a bunch of cool stuff from our friends at Ignition Press this week that I've been really looking forward to, including the next one. This is Showdown. This is a more straightforward tale. This is two people who have had interactions before, and it resulted in the guy having a reputation for, they basically say he gets signs put out in front of his house to basically indicate that he has killed another person. And so he basically has lived his life, it looks like, under this big scrutiny. She does not have Lucille, but she definitely has a bat. And so it gets to a point at which she comes and shows up and says, you and me, because she also has like bad blood history about it. She goes, you and me, we're just going to fight it out to basically the death. One of us is walking away and one of us is not, in which he kind of like dismisses her initially. But then when he like realizes that there's no out for him, he's going to live his whole life under this curtain of scrutiny for did he do the thing or by omission cause the death of this kid? I think we're going to learn more about it in the series, but we do know that he accepts the challenge because he just knows that it's like for him, it just feels like an acceptable, this has got to end somehow. I'm either going to have her go away so it doesn't follow me around anymore, which I don't think he's thought that part through, or she's going to be the winner, and then the rest of the world that lives in town will probably feel like it's justified. So it's going to be brutal, y'all. These are just normal people. There are no superpowers. They are just pissed off people. By the way, violence is never the answer. Bit of a tear. I'm telling you, I know the people that run this company. One of the publishers was from the original Boom, back when it was like Amazeballs. And so they're really trying to make really amazing things, and they have been doing a great job. Hey, Rudolph. Okay, so Innards was one that I actually got to talk to Rob Guillory about. So Rob Guillory has always done majorly awesome things. His last big project was Farmhand. He's done with Farmhand, and now Innards is the thing that's happening. So the cool concept behind this is that something really horrible has happened on the surface. So much so as it feels like there's not a lot of livable space there. And so they have figured out some way to transport people down to kind of like deep earth, where there are caverns that have this like weird glowy mineral that they can use for power. The problem is that the technology for doing it is not 100% safe, because it does disintegrate them, I think, and put them back together. And so at the very beginning of the book, you see one of the other people that's part of this group is talking about, well, it's not 100% safe because you see this mole on my face. It used to be on my butt. So it puts the pit back together mostly, right? It's a very dangerous thing. They don't have a lot of people, obviously, that want to volunteer for such things, because there's only one way down there. It's not like you just get on an elevator and come back up. If the technology doesn't work, that's not good. But also, there's something else down there. There's something else going on. And is it just them going a little crazy, or is it people that got transported down there before who got stuck there and lost their minds? Unclear at the beginning here. And so it follows basically this main character here is a young man, not a grizzled old guy, a young man who just found out his girl is pregnant. And so he's really doing this because he needs to grow up and provide for his child. So a good reason to do this. But also, I am terrified of dark and closed spaces. I don't like them. So if you don't like them either, then maybe this is not for you. We love Dan Curry. Okay. Megalith. This book has an interesting history. So back when Bad Idea started, they kind of like pitched their launch with 2 books. One was ENIAC, about the kind of like scary, out of control early computer that in the books like kind of took over everything. And there was no way to get rid of him because he kind of like put his tendrils out, kind of like Ultron, and got himself in every computer. And so there was no way to really control him or get rid of him. So this one was the other one they talked about. And it was like one of those things that they got teased a little bit about it. And they've made some hardcover bits for this. But it took a long time to get the full series finished, which was 8 years. 8 years for La Rosa to do this. And it was worth the wait. There's 3 issues to the entire series. The pitch is very simple. It is from the point of view of this kind of like transport police officer who looks a whole bunch like Alan Richardson, which I think this would make a really great movie, by the way, with him in it. And he is doing his job. You get to see him be very kind to the people he serves. So he's a good guy. And this thing falls from the sky. In the book, you don't really know that until a little bit later. But all you know is there's some giant catastrophe that happens. He's trying to help people get out of the subway and get them to safety and that kind of stuff. But you get to see that the military shows up and they realize that this thing has fallen down from the sky and it is starting to replicate itself. So it's replicating itself and they're trying to break into it as it's making itself. So that is they're trying to figure out it does have a bottom. They know they can't get out the top. It is very scarily looking like it's kind of like incorporating people into itself if they get too close. I don't think it's part of what it's trying to do. So that's kind of where it ends. It's just like it finally builds itself and you get to see the entirety of what this thing looks like. And it looks awesome. Every single page of this book is frameable. It is amazingly cool. So if you like kaiju or Jaegers, you're going to love this series. Very cinematic, I will say. Very extremely cinematic. If you got $1 for every time you got disintegrated and then rebuilt, me too, man. All right, Godzilla versus Texas is, I think, 4 stories taking place, of course, in the great state of Texas. All over the place. So no matter wherever you are in Texas, you'll probably see it, even including little tiny towns, which I thought was very interesting for them to include them. But oddly, I don't think there's Houston in it, which is so bizarre. But it is funny because the whole first story, that's what I'll tell you about because it's so funny, essentially has a bunch of people, online news people, saying that it's ridiculous for people to say that there's a Godzilla attacking. There's no proof of that, but in the background of every single one of them talking is actually Godzilla destroying a place. So it's the opposite of what we see is like people making up news. This is like news that's being ignored. So if you just want to have fun watching Godzilla destroy Texas parts, then there you go. Yeah, that cover looks just like Texas. That's right. All right. And this is the last of it, right? Hidden Springs. This is really cool and unexpected storyline. I really thought I knew what was going to go on in this book, and I don't know what was going on in this book. I thought it was just going to be about some old people that found like some water that made them young and cool again. But no, that's not what is happening so far. It's about a group of old people that are part of a very kind of like special, fancy retirement home. So they're like previously famous actors or producers or famous rock and rollers that have enough money to go to a very nice place. Some of them don't have their minds anymore or have been affected by too much drug usage, but they're out on a field trip to the forest. They wander out a little bit and something falls from the sky, which they think initially is an airplane crash, but instead it has this creature. And that is as much as I'm going to tell you, because it gets super trippy from there, and you will like the trippiness of this. Maya! So yeah, this is there. I am down for what I hope is a really cool. It feels very science fiction, and I love science fiction, especially what I tell you with kaiju. And this is definitely a kaiju looking thing. So I loved it. David Mack released an amazing cover for Catwoman with stained glass background. Oh yeah, that one looks really pretty. I've seen another one where it's like her, I don't know who made it, but it's a helmet. You know, like she has that very glossy helmet. And in the reflection of the helmet, you can see Batman kind of above her. That was really cool. All right. So I will tell you guys, we have enough time. So we'll talk about because it's all the internet of comic books is talking about right now. Someone mentioned it a little bit earlier that the entire print run for Absolute Batman 20, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 11, and the Barbara Gordon book has a small damage to it. I will tell you, they're making so much to do out of it. It's just silly. You can actually see kind of it here on this cover. It's this tiny little ripple. There's a tiny ripple in it. But in the world of super collectors that want 9/9s out of their books, that might be seen as a huge, broken part of a book. But I'm telling you right now, they're making way too big of a deal out of it. The books are just fine. You're not gonna go to the store and see ripped up books or destroyed books. So just don't give your LCS a big hard time about it, because they're already a little bit probably worried about it, because they want to serve you. They want to give you the best possible thing. But the way that DC has addressed this is that they're going to make a second print, but they are not making a first print replacement. So they're basically saying that the damage is just a printer error that is going to be conveyed to the companies that do grading. So it should not count against the books, because that's been historically what they say. If it is a widespread printer defect, it doesn't count against the book grade. So you don't have to lose your mind about, I'm not going to get a 9/8 anymore. They know that it exists, so they're not going to count against it. So, whoop, whoop. Reading 80 books. I did read 20. Yep. If you submit it, AB Batman 20, and all of the people that got, as far as I know, all the people that got variant covers, which is what we got, that's our variant back there, the cover is fine. We got gorgeous copies. So if you're going to be all picky about it and say, oh, the inside cover has got a little crinkle in it, then we got enough to worry about, y'all. We got enough to worry about. Let's worry about reading the cool story in it. How's that? Make sure that you definitely stick around, because I'm going to offer all of these cool things that are on the wall behind me, and then all these cool books. There's so much that came out this week, including, this is non-traditional week. We have actual novels. And because we don't have graphic novels yet for the series, then that's the only way we can ride this wave that is the Dinnaman wave. If you're not reading Dungeon Crawler anything, it's going to be one of those things that all your friends are going to talk about. No pressure here for getting into it. But if you're interested in the graphic novel version of it, definitely tell your local comic shop, because the orders have already gone in. And we're not that far away from it actually dropping. So we actually went back and made a huge order that was behind our initial order. So hopefully we'll have all of that get fulfilled. I'm happy about that. And it is a fun story. Just read the Dust Jacket and you'll be very happy. All right, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by and enjoying the show. Like I said, we're going to pop back up here in a second, and I'm going to sell all these good things to you. But do go to your local comic shop, please, and support them. They put their heart and soul into every single week, making sure that they've ordered all the things that you might love. And they love standing around and talking about it. Just like whenever I'm waiting for Dungeon Crawler Kyle, that would be funny. Just like I would love it when people come up to me and say, did you read such and such a book last week? Even if I didn't read that book, I would like for you to tell me about it. Because then I might fall in love with the things that you fall in love with. It works both ways. I don't just like tell you guys things to buy. You can tell me things that I should buy. Because I probably will. All right, everybody. I will see you next time.